Good morning, John. How are you?
Pretty good. How's it going?
Good, good, good. I see that we have a piece of weaponry here. Can you tell a little bit about it and what its purpose is?
So what we have here is a model 1916 Putoe infantry gun. Putoe is French arms manufacturer, and this is actually a French gun.
Wow, okay. Well, why did the United States even use such weaponry from the French?
Well, World War I, we came into the game pretty late. We didn't actually declare war until April 1917. And when we got our troops overseas, we really didn't have a lot of weaponry for them. Excuse me. So we used a lot of stuff that the French had. So in this case, this was an infantry support weapon. Fired a 37 millimeter Hotchkiss round. You can see it right there. And it was really used to support advancing infantry by laying down direct high explosive fire on enemy positions.
Oh wow, okay, okay. Well, do you know if like anything came after this? Was this like the first evolution of this piece of weaponry, or did anything come after?
So yeah, we used this really effectively, both the Marines and the Army during World War I. But it was kind of cumbersome. You know, it had a big four-legged mount that four guys would have to carry, and
so this is not the only piece.
No, it would actually it would mount right here, and then down under here to a larger mount. You'd have a crew of four, and so your gunner, your loader, and then two ammo bearers. And they would have to bring this thing out on the battlefield. Now the gun itself weighs probably 60, 70 pounds, probably twice that on the mount. So it's you know, it's a substantial piece of equipment. You need a number of people to carry it. So it was not without its drawbacks, but the Marines used them pretty effectively in World War I.
Okay.
We kept them in the inventory though, and we used them through the interwar period. In fact, you know, they were still in sort of frontline use by the beginning of World War II.
Oh, so this was used after World War I by the United States?
It was.
Okay.
It was. You know, we still had, you know, a few thousand of them in the inventory, but it was pretty clear that it was not really up to the task anymore. Tanks had developed enough that a high explosive hit from this really wasn't going to do much against a tank. So we needed higher velocity, more firepower, and a better punch.
So later this piece of weaponry kind of evolved in something much larger, much greater?
Well, actually not much larger at the time. The first weapon to sort of, I guess, replace this would be the M3 anti-tank gun, which was also a 37 millimeter weapon. Projectile was about the same size, but the cartridge on it was about 3 times the size. Oh, wow. So it had a lot more powder pushing it, and it was able to reach out farther, much faster, and was okay at the beginning of World War II as an anti-tank gun. Very quickly that got phased out as well as armor developed even further, armor thickness, armor hardness, and everything. And the M3 anti-tank gun really was sort of outmoded by 1943. The Army and the Marines went to the 57 millimeter anti-tank gun, and actually the Marines continued to use the 37 in limited numbers. But by that time, Marine armored formations were moving up to the Sherman tank from the Stuart and everything. So anti-tank guns were not really critical to Marine operations. So in the Pacific. So, but this little gun was sort of the on-call firepower in some of the early battles of World War II. We know for a fact that they were used in the last days of the Philippine campaign. And in fact, there was one gun that was critical in the defense of Curator in May of 1942. Of course, Curator falls. We just actually observed the 80th anniversary of the fall of Curator on May 6th. But on May 5th, a gun section led by Staff Sergeant Dudley was using one of these to engage Japanese troops coming ashore. And in fact, they were in a position that they couldn't really depress the gun low enough. And so Staff Sergeant Dudley literally grabbed the trails of the mount and lifted them up so they could get enough depression on the gun to fire effectively. So as far as I know, that's probably the last combat use of this type in U.S. service, but really had a good length of service with U.S. forces.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
So, yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I do appreciate it, John. Thank you.
Good deal. Yep. We'll see you next time, man.
Yep.